Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to the third lecture of on the course of electronics. My name is Engineer Jafar Ali. I am an instructor for this course. Let's start with the recapitulation of the previous lecture. In the last lecture, we have learned about rectification, that what is rectification, and we have learned about different applications of rectification, that why do we need and why do we use rectification. We have learned that rectification is a process of conversion of a AC into DC, and we have learned that what are the applications of that, because nowadays there are several devices that are operated at small DC voltages, and for that purpose we need a rectification process. Then we learned about there are two types of rectification. One for the first one is half wave and the second one is full wave, and we learned about both of these. After that we discussed about clipper diode and its type, that if you want to clip some portion or a complete part of positive or negative, how can we clip that away. And in the last of the previous lecture, what we learned is clamper diode and its types, that how can you add some portion from taking from one part, uh, from the peak or positive or negative, and place it into the other part. So this was the previous lecture, and in today's activity we will be learning about there are several types of diodes, that how you can actually use different diodes and where are they used, and how these diodes differ with any basic p-n junction diode. So these are basically special purpose diode. They are used for special purposes rather than the common diode, that is p-n junction. Now, starting from the very basic and the very useful diode, this is known as Zener diode, and the major function and the major application of this Zener diode is that it basically provides stable references voltage for the use of power supply, voltmeters and other instruments. It also basically conducts in the reverse bias mode. This is the main difference between this diode and the common p-n junction diode. The common p-n junction diode does not operate in the reverse bias mechanism, but this Zener diode is a silicon p-n junction device, and this is designed specifically for the operation in the reverse breakdown region. The breakdown voltage of a Zener diode is set carefully by controlling the doping level during manufacture. So basically, the manufacturer is the one who is doing the uh, calculations for controlling how much doping is required, how much the level of doping should be there for a specific breakdown voltage. So no, normally they are the Zener diode comes from manufacturer, and you have to select one of the Zener diode provided by the different manufacturers. The symbol of the Zener diode is shown as in this diagram. You can see that rather than this diagram, this is used for a normal p-n junction diode. There is a slight change in diagram, and that makes it a Zener diode. So basically this is the representation. If you want to represent a diode on a paper or in your any software, you can use this type of diode for Zener diode representation. And it is slightly different as well as in physical color. The normal diode is normally at black and silver, but this diode actually comes in orange and black, whereas the black is represents cathode and the orange represents the anode. So this is the slight difference between a normal diode and a Zener diode. You see that this is the characteristic of Zener diode. You can see that it operates as well in the reverse condition. You see this VZ represents basically the reverse breakdown voltage that a Zener diode is having. You see that if you want your diode to operate in reverse region, so you can use this region as well. You can see that this is mentioned over here as Zener region. So this is basically the reverse characteristic. and this is the reason for which we use Zener diode instead of normal diode. Now, what are the basic characteristics of the breakdown parameters? There are basically two types of reverse breakdown voltage in a Zener diode, and they are basically termed as avalanche and Zener. Avalanche effects occur in both rectifier, half wave or full wave, and the Zener diodes are at sufficiently high reverse voltages. A Zener diode is heavily doped, and due to this doping, the level of or the threshold of the breakdown voltage is reduced because of the heavily doping process. And both the types, that are avalanche and Zener, they are normally called as Zener diodes. Zener diodes are commercially available with the breakdown voltages from less than 1 volt up to 250 volts. It means that it is up to you and your application that which one Zener diode you want to use in your circuit. And this normally comes with the tolerance of 1% to 20%. That means if you are using 1 volt, so the value can be vary from 0.9 to 1.1. This is mean by the tolerance value. And if you are using, let's say, 100 volt diode, it means, and the tolerance value is 20%, let's say, so the value will be varying from 80 to 120. So this is the meaning of tolerance actually. Now, the second diode that is really of great importance is termed as vector diode, and this is basically best explained as variable capacitor. Now, think of a depletion region as a variable dielectric. You see that this diode also acts as a capacitor if you want to, because you are using a PN junction, and if you want to store some charge in the depletion region, you can also do that. And if you have stored some charge over here in the depletion region, it means that this is basically now turned as capacitor, because capacitor acts same as a diode in terms of storing the charge. So if you store a charge in a diode, it becomes a variable capacitor, and this capacitor will be used as uh, a source of power. In if you want to do that, you can also store some charge in that diode as well. And the medium will be used as dielectric, and it adjusted by the reverse bias voltages, and that will be variable. So you see that if you apply greater reverse bias voltage, the capacitance will be less, and if you apply less reverse bias voltage, the capacitance will be greater. It means that if you want to store maximum charge, you have to apply less reverse bias voltage, and if you want to store some minimum charge and makes the diode as a small capacitor, you can actually apply some greater reverse bias voltage, and that will store some less charges, and the capacitance of the diode will be very less. So you can also use these as vector diodes. Now there is also another important diode, and that is basically mostly used and or heard. You have heard of it because of this term. The term is known as LED, and this LED is basically light emitting diode. And what does it actually do? It emits photons, and you know that photons are that particles of a light and that carry some energy within it. So, and this light can be visible and cannot be visible, but for LED this has to be visible light, and its purpose is for indication and for other intelligent displays. It means that if you want some monitoring purpose of if you want to do some indication, you can use this LEDs, and it is normally installed in different remotes or different small circuits. You have seen if you want to see the LED, basically it is installed in a TV remote as well as different other remotes, so you can use these for indication purposes as well. Now various impurities are added during the doping process to vary the color input. Basically you can adjust the color by the of the LED by using different doping mechanism. And in the market there are available red LEDs, white LEDs, green LEDs. So all are these are same, but the difference between them is the doping process, and the different addition of different materials known as impurities basically change the color of LED. So if you want to change the color of LED, you are just to improve or change the impurities and their concentrations in the process of doping. And normally this is done in the factories or industries. You cannot do this at home. Now you see that this is the circuit diagram of forward bias operation of the optical diodes. You apply some voltage plus and minus across this diode, and when the charges flow through this diode, they emit light. So this is a basically you know that the optical diode operation of optical diodes. Now look at the graph of this diode when it operates in forward current. Uh, as you increase the current, the light output basically increases. But at some time, if you increased too much current, the diode will be burst and it will be it can get faulted. So this is a limitation that if you want to use higher LED or bright LED, you should go for the one that have the value of IF more. If you are using a small LED that is normally 1 ampere, maximum 1 ampere or 2 ampere, so it will be working up to that 1 ampere and 2 ampere. If you uh, want to increase the light of LED and you increase uh, the current basically, so in the graph of that diode is basically like this. So the if you increase further, the diode gets faulted. So this is a good way, there is a good way to select our diode, and that is basically use of data sheet. Before buying a particular diode, LED or light emitting diode, you first look at their specifications, and it is mentioned on the data sheet of that LED, and you can easily get all of the data sheet from the manufacturer's website. If you want to if you are looking for a specific LED, so go for the search for the company and search for their models or different LEDs, and in that data sheet you will get the maximum light output, and that is basically measured in lux or candela, from where you can measure the intensity of light and their corresponding currents. So if you want to go at higher currents for higher light outputs, so you can use these data sheets before buying actually the LED from the market. Same is the function with the photodiode is type of optical diode, but unlike LEDs, photodiode receive actually lights rather than produce light. It receives light, and after it receives light, it basically acts as a short circuit or open circuit. The photodiode varies its current in response to the amount of light actually that strikes on it. In the LED, you have to provide input to turn on the light, but in photodiodes, the light comes in as an input, and if the light is of certain threshold, it will close the circuit, or if it is below the threshold, it will keep the circuit open. So this is used for mostly for switching, and it is mostly installed in solar panels as well, because when the light comes in and the flow of electron is the path of the current gets completed, it basically starts conduction. So these are the photodiodes, and this it is basically placed in a circuit in reverse bias, and most of these diodes have no current flows in reverse bias, but the light strikes the exposed junction through a tiny window. That is mostly you have seen in the solar system or solar panels. The reverse current increases proportional to the light intensity. Now it should be noted that the photodiodes exhibit a reverse leakage current which appears as inverse variable resistance, and this current is very small. It is at the start, but later on it gets disappeared. So this should be neglected, and or if you are using any circuit that is very sensitive, you cannot neglect that. So that in that purpose you need to have some resistance or variable resistance to control these leakage current in your circuits. Now you can see there are different types of LED photodiodes. Normally they are available in the market, so you can use any of them. The first diagram is shown over here, that it is the reverse bias operation for the photodiode specifically. When the light comes in of certain wavelength, the lambda is showing the wavelength over here. So different wavelength corresponds to different intensity of current and the value of amount of current. So this is dependent on the wavelength that is coming on the photodiodes. There are several shapes of photodiodes that are available in the market, and the diagram of photodiodes is basically shown over here. The alternate symbol is shown over here because it shows that the input is basically light. You can see it, that the input is basically light will be coming in, and if the light strike this diode, this basically start conduction. The energy from the light photons will be converted into the flow of electrons over here. So these are basically photodiodes, and this is the best characteristics diagram that is shown over here. The reverse voltage, the reverse peak voltage, along with the reverse current. As you see that if you want to increase your uh, current or reverse current, so there are two options. There is option that you can actually increase the intensity of light, that is radiance. Basically you have to increase certain amount of light. If you want to increase your current, you have to increase the amount of light. You can see that this is the graph of reverse current versus irradiance, and if you want to increase the current, you have to increase the radiance as well. So this is the best diagram from which you can understand the working of photodiodes. Now there is another interesting type of diode, and this is termed as basically Schottky diode, and it is used somewhere where you need very fast switching. Now normally a diode has a positive type region and a negative type region, p type and n type. But in this diode, in this specific diode, there is n type and there is no p type. Instead of p type, you basically put some metal region with this, and you know that metal is basically conductor. So this is used for fast switching. This diode is used for fast switching because it is not a typical diode and it does not have a p-n junction. It consists of lightly doped n material and a heavily doped the metal bounded together. So this is the metal region, and the benefit of this diode, the use and the benefit of using this diode is that you get very quick response. The quick response is the thing that you need in your high speed digital communication circuits. For example, you need to turn off, or you are working in some, let's say, very dense industry, and there are a lot of loads, and there should be a lot of switching circuits as well. And you, if you want to and in that industry, let's say there comes a fault, so you will be needing some device that turns off other or isolates that device to from another device, but it should be very quick. And for that specific reasons, you will actually go for Schottky diodes because it has a high switching speed as compared to any of other diodes. And the only reason is because of their metal region, because metal have a lot of doping. I have mentioned that it is heavily doped, so the doping will be actually increasing the conductivity. As you know that doping increases conductivity, so because of this heavily doped conduction region over here, the device is actually very quick for switching. Another type is basically another diode. This is basically a tunnel diode, and it exhibits negative resistance. It will actually conduct well with low forward bias, and if you increase the voltage in this bias a bit further, it will reaches the negative resistance range, which then will current will actually go down. So they have achieved this by using a heavily doped p type and an n type materials, and that create a very thin depletion region actually, because you see that the name shows that it is basically a tunnel, and this tunnel is very thin in width actually, and due to this thin region, the current gets limited, and it will reduce its amplitude. The amplitude of the current will be very much reduced. Tank circuits tank circuit oscillates but die out due to the internal resistance, and this tunnel actually provide with the negative resistance, and that will overcome the losses and maintains the oscillation. We have discussed in the last class that rectification is the process that is used to convert DC into AC into DC, and I have told you that the oscillator is another thing that basically do the opposite. It creates AC from the DC. It adds some frequency to DC and makes it AC. And for that reason, you see that there is basically the diode that is actually working to help that process. A tunnel diode will provide negative resistance, and that will overcomes the losses and maintains the oscillation. If you want your oscillations to be maintained, you do not want to lose your oscillations, so you will need a tunnel diode that will help you inshallah to keep that oscillations going on, and it will prevent it from different losses. And what is tank circuit? Tank circuit is basically another circuit which can actually help you to create frequencies. It is also known as tank circuit, and the circuit is basically RC or RL circuit in parallel. If you combine the different components RLC in parallel, they make a tank circuit. And why do we call it tank circuit? Because this actually creates frequency. And how does this create frequency? You will be using this kind of circuits in your small projects inshallah in the coming future. And how does this work? You apply some voltage over here, and the capacitor or the inductor gets charged, and here is your load. After you disconnect the circuit, this charges that is stored in the circuit or LNC, this will be drained out at this load over here. So it will be the output of this wave will be going like this, but it will get lost, or losses will be very much high. So to keep that losses neglected, you have to put some tunnel diode. You see that we have placed a tunnel diode over here. This is a diagram of the tunnel diode. We have actually put some tunnel diode in the circuit before the tank circuit. This is the tank circuit. This is the tank circuit. You see that this is mentioned over a tank circuit, and you have placed some diode in front of the tank circuit to prevent the loss or the decrease in the oscillations. And after this circuit, after this diode, you see that the oscillation is not lost or decreased. They are straight line. So this is the benefit if you want your circuit to be maintain its oscillation. So for that reason, you will be needing a circuit, and this circuit is basically termed as a tank circuit. And to prevent the oscillations, actually you will be putting a diode is over here before the tank circuit. Some people put diode here, but this is not the right region to place the diode. Diode should be placed in front of the tank circuit, not inside the tank circuit. So so this is another very important diode type, and this is the last type that we will be discussing in today's class. This type is basically termed as laser diode, and it is the mostly used diode in nowadays. This is stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, and it is a process, a monochromatic coherent light. Now what is monochromatic? Mono means one and chromatic means color. So this is single color light. If you want to create a single color light, this diode will be the one that you will be needing. And how does it work? Basically, laser diodes in conjunction with the photodiodes are used to receive the data from different compact discs. So you see that these type of diodes are normally used with the combination of photodiodes, because we have learned that photodiodes generate some specific color light, and this diode actually increase the intensity of that light in the specific direction. So you will be getting a long range of the light instead of a dispersed wave. So you will be getting a stimulated emission of that light. So that is why the reason, that is the reason that it is termed as light amplification, but by stimulated emission of radiation. So you have basically increased the intensity of the light, and for that reason this is termed as laser diode. And it normally works at in forward bias. The diode is normally working as in the forward bias, and electron moves through the junction, and recombination occurs as ordinary, and the result of the recombinations is the release of photons. Actually, if you want to increase the light intensity, you have to increase the release of the photons also, and that will cause a chain reaction of this process of releasing the photons and avalanching photons, which will form an intense laser beam. So if you want to increase the intensity of any laser, you have to actually increase the photon release. As I've told you in the previous diagram, that if you want to increase the photodiodes, you see I have told you that if you want to increase the intensity of light, you have to increase if you want to increase the current, or the increase the current, you have to actually increase the intensity of light that is striking towards it. So same with the case with the laser diode, but because it is used with a combination of photodiodes, as we have mentioned above. So this is this diagram of the laser diode. You can see that the symbol of laser diode is almost same as the photodiode, except of this circle. If you remove the circle, it becomes photodiode, but you have used a photodiode in terms of amplification, so that is why it is converted now into laser diode. See, this is the diagram of the laser diode. And what is the internal structure of this laser diode? This is basically anode, cathode, and there are two junctions. One is p junction and one is n junction, and this p and the small region of p-n junction, basically this is the p type, this is the n type, this is a small junction. And these ends are basically highly reflective end, and this the other end will be partially reflective end. And now what is the reflective end, and why do we increase or reduce the reflective property of that material? So the reason for keeping the this side highly reflective and the other side partially reflective is that you do not want your light to go out. You want your light to stay in and keep striking back to the material, because the more you strike, the more you get the photons, and the more intensity you will be receiving at the end, and you will be using amplification for that. So you want your photon to keep striking to that material, and for that you should need a highly reflective end. That will be, you see that you do not want your photon to lose or to go out from the medium. So you will have a highly reflective end at one side, because once the photon get entered, it will be keep striking inside. So this will be creating much more photons, and there will be a much increase in the reverse current or forward current. So that will increase the intensity of light, as well as it when it will be combined with the amplification process. So it will be much more amplified as compared if you are using not using the highly reflective or the partially reflective end. If you remove both of these ends, the one photon will be entered and it will strike, and it will go back, and it will be lost. So to keep that inside this layer or this region, you will be having a highly reflective end on the one side and the partially reflective end on the other side. So you see that once a photon gets in, it will be keep striking back and forth, and it will be highly intensive light on the one of the output side. So this was all about today's lecture. In today's class, we have learned about the very important diodes that are specifically used for several different purposes. The one is basically Zener diode that operates in the reverse breakdown voltage. A Zener diode basically maintains a nearly a constant voltage across its terminal over a specified range of current. So it means that you have to first select, as I have told you, that you have to select a diode from a data sheet before actually buying it. You have to look at the range of the current provided by that specific diode that is available in the market. Just do not go to the market and buy the one. First search for it from their data sheets, and after you have decided for a specific range of current, you can actually note that which diode you should buy. Line regulation is the maintenance of a specific voltage with changing inputs. There are two terms basically. One is line regulation and the other one is load regulation. And load regulation is basically the maintenance of a specific voltage for different loads. So if you want to use your diodes for different for various different loads, so you will have to go for load regulation, and for that you will be needing data sheet as well. Can calculate the load regulation using a formula as well. We will discuss that in class, inshallah. That what is formula of line regulation and what is the formula for load regulation. I am putting some examples over here, from that you can just understand, and we will further discuss that, because this topic actually needs discussion, because I will tell you and you will raise questions from that, and I will love to answer that. So this is the specific topic, line regulation and load regulation, and it is given by the formula that I will be showing you in the next slide. Now there are other types of diode that are used for specific RF purposes. RF basically is radio frequency, and you have learned that what is tank circuit. And for tank circuit, it means that you are creating some, or you are generating some frequencies, and for that reason you can use variable vector diodes that actually acts as variable capacitance. You can use Schottky diodes when you are using some applications that need quick switching, and you if you want to improve your switching time, you can actually use Schottky diodes. And pin diodes basically are used in microwave attenuation and switching. So look at the slide for next slide for line regulation and maintenance. Light emitting diodes are either frame infrared or visible light when forward bias, and photodiode exhibits an increase in the reverse current with light intensity. So if you increase the light intensity, you are increasing actually the reverse current, and that increases the performance of a photodiode. In the last we have learned about the laser diode, and we have learned that laser diode actually produce or emits a monochromatic light, a single light, but in a specific direction, and the range of that light is very long, because you have you have amplified the light in a specific direction. The laser means light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So you basically amplify the radiation but in a particular direction and of a particular color. So this is the brief of today's lecture. I hope you have learned something new in this lecture. In the coming class we will discuss many more topics, and if you have any question you can put forward that in our class that will be going to happen in coming week, or you can email me as well. Thank you for your patience and listening. I hope to see you all in the coming class. Allah Hafiz.